Hey, everybody, welcome back to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to talking with Marc Freedman. Marc, it's good to connect with you. I'm looking forward to talking with you not only about your business, but your book. Your business, which is also the name of your book, Expense to Profit. You guys specialize in expense recovery and expense reduction. And I think that's always a timely topic, but I think especially right now, especially once COVID hit, when companies were really looking at how they could cut expenses because of the world that they were in. And so I'd like to kind of zoom into that moment because, I think a lot of people were looking at things, and some of the things that they were looking at as an expense were really an investment. And some of the things maybe that they looked at as an investment were really an expense. And so I kind of would like to talk about that. When the pandemic hit, for example, I felt that many companies were cutting their marketing budget because they saw it as an expense. And I thought they should be quadrupling their marketing budget because to me, that was an investment. So I'm curious, in your eyes, kind of, how you look at stuff like that with a magnifying glass and really help companies.
Yeah, so that's an interesting dynamic because, as you know, in a time of crisis, if you don't have the available capital to be able to expand your business, then you can't take advantage of what for some other people may be unfortunate. And so being able to have the capital and the cash flow to fund that marketing is paramount to being a successful business, whether it's in a pandemic or whether it's just regularly operating business pre or post pandemic.
Yeah.
The key is what we do is really kind of is really look at what are you spending money on and how are you spending it, and are you getting market price? Most businesses think they're getting market price, but the fact that we've done over 25,000 audits over the years, and we've saved over $1 billion for our clients as a team, we know that every business that we go into is probably most likely not getting market price and probably not even close to market price, even though they think they're getting market price.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but let's talk about that because I think everything starts with awareness, right? Business, life, and starting to look at things with new eyes. I mean, all business people, whether they knew this or not, I think more people know it now post-COVID that the same level of consciousness that got you to where you are cannot get you to where you need to be. And the lenses that you have on need to evolve. And so that's why I love that you're talking about you've done 25,000 audits because you see things that others can't see, right? To you, it's probably hidden in plain sight. As a business coach, I work with solopreneurs to Fortune 500, 100 companies and everything in between. And I always tell them, I see things that are hidden in plain sight. You just can't see them. And so it sounds like you do the same thing when it comes to expenses. So kind of dive into how people need to, well, one, just pick up the phone and call you, but two, retrain their eyes so they know what they're seeing.
Yeah, so that's always the biggest issue that a lot of businesses have, right? Well, let my talk to my CFO. They've got that under control, and I was like, yeah. The problem with that kind of a concept is a CFO is not trained to do what we do. They're trained to manage a business.
Right.
When they need to procure something or they need a specific service, they go to the marketplace and they do it competitively, and they may get a very good price, but are they really getting market price? And the key there is, for instance, and when I say we kind of know market price, our guys that do logistics, UPS, FedEx, stuff like that, our guy who's doing that for us today spent 37 years at UPS, designed the pricing schema that they still use today, retired 4 years ago, and does expense reduction for a living. Why? Because he knows the exact pricing of what it costs to move product if you have to move product around the U.S. Our guy who does our medical supplies, he at one time was the chief pricing officer, and then he was the president of Cardinal Health, one of the largest suppliers. He has expense reduction for the last 12 years. These guys have very amounts of insight that I certainly wouldn't have if I was in those things. And even if I was in the business, we've had businesses that distribute medical supplies who were competing for our client's business, who were still 18% above the lowest supplier.
Yeah.
And they're like, why didn't we get the business? Well, we can come in and help you because you're buying from other people and marking it up, but you're still not getting market price. And so the key is it's knowing what market price is. And in most cases, people just don't know what that is.
Yeah. Let's talk about knowing for a minute, right? Because you've said that a couple times, um, and knowing is an evolution, right? And so it's
Yeah.
not as if, somebody who goes to college and majors in something like this knows something. Somebody who's done 5,000 audits knows a little bit more. Somebody who's done 10,000, a little bit more. Uh, to 25,000 knows a lot more. And the knowing comes from the doing. The knowing comes from the talking to people, looking at a lot, listening to concerns, etc. But I want to kind of even go back further than before you started this company, and the knowing that you had that this is kind of where you would end up, or how did you end up here, right? So I want to go back to kind of your earliest memory where the mentor kind of came along that planted a seed that maybe you didn't even know at the time would lead you on this path, but was kind of, knowing that that person knew maybe what the future lied for you.
Yeah, that's a very interesting way to go retrospect. So I've been in the financial world since the early '80s and have evolved over the years. And at one time, I was a consultant, and
But
you would
take me to the 60s and the 70s for a minute.
well, I can't take the '60s and '70s. I was in school, right? I
Right.
graduated in '76, and then went to college and ended up in Rochester, New York, at RIT because I thought I was going to become a CPA.
Uh-huh.
After 2 years, and actually my roommates being from Washington D.C. Or from the suburbs of D.C., I realized, yeah, I'm in the wrong place, and so I transferred to George Washington University to take a politics and law. And then thought, well, okay, well maybe I'll do tax law. Yeah, no, that wasn't me either. I really, that really wasn't the place. And I ended up in business in the finance world and trying to help businesses be more successful. And over the years, it just became to the point where you get to a capacity, right? How
Right.
many people can you help at any one given time? And 11 years ago, I was meeting with a friend of mine who I was talking about. He suggested, hey, you're really good on the expense side of things. Why don't you just do that and leave the revenue stuff to us? Because he does revenue stuff.
Right.
I said, yeah, you're probably right. It's probably a good idea. Hey, talk to this guy. His name was Phil Gross. And, Phil can give you some insights because that's what he does. He's been doing it for about 10 years. So lo and behold, I didn't know that Phil Gross was a partner of somebody who I knew 10 years already. In George, and I went back, and then a couple weeks later, I'm at an event, and some guy says, "Hey, you really ought to meet Phil Gross." This right now. This is the second time I've heard Phil's name. Right now, I'm on the beach in Bethany, Delaware, and I'm walking, and I run into a buddy of mine who happens to be a neighbor of Phil Gross. So Phil and I had coffee. That's all we did.
Phil Gross was definitely, the universe was definitely trying to get you and Phil Gross connected.
Right. So Phil and I connected, and because of all the connections I had over 30 years of being in business, I had built a lot of these relationships with consultants who had knowledge. And so I was thinking about joining. Phil belongs to a franchise business. And the biggest problem for me was it wasn't the franchise fee. It was they wanted 18% of every dollar I brought in for marketing and for franchise fees. And I was like, oh, that's a little steep. And so I said, Phil, let me see if I can try this on my own. Will you guys support me if I need some experts in different categories? Sure, we'd be happy to support you. So that's how I ended up founding Expense to Profit.
Yeah.
And
But I want to pause you for 1 second because for the Think community, this is what I want, because I think a lot of people are trying to find fulfillment and passion right now, right? A lot of people are trying to find joy, whether it's in their job, in another seat of where they work, whether it's their own business, whatever that is. How did you know when you were talking to Phil Gross that, whoa, what was the feeling of alignment that you had where you thought, this is it?
Yeah, well, it was kind of like, when you're dealing with the business, and think about, you're looking at both sides of the business, right? You're looking at how do they spend money, and you're looking at how do they grow their business. My real expertise, because of my background, was more on the expense side. It was, how do you spend money the right way? I used to do business plans. I used to help with that side of the equation, and bring in friends of mine who were more knowledgeable on the growth side of the business, and we would team up together. When Phil and I were talking, he said, yeah, just forget about the other side. You don't need to worry about the other side. But what you're going to do is you're going to provide them the cash flow that they need to be able to grow their business.
Right. Because every company needs, I don't mean to interrupt you, but every company needs cash flow, right? Number one rule of business, have enough money to stay in business.
Right. So not only to stay in business, but to be able to grow your business, right?
Right.
Because, how many times have business owners been approached by their sales team or their marketing group, say, hey, we got this great idea for this great campaign. Yeah, we don't have money for that.
Yeah.
We can help you find that money. And that to me was the light bulb. That was the light bulb that went off.
That was the light bulb.
Help people, and when you have a client that says to you, oh, we're on cost plus 15%. Well, where's your agreement with your provider? Well, we don't have one. It was a handshake. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, did they define what cost is? No. And then we saved 18%, and I asked the CFO, are you now cost minus 3%?
But that's what I love. What I love about your story is where you finally had that moment of alignment was when you realized, wait, I can help people, right? And then it's like, here's something that I've been an expert in that maybe I didn't even know I was an expert in, but I needed the guides along the way to lead me to feel gross, yada yada yada. And now you kind of found where you can help people the most. I love that. I just kind of wanted to, I wanted to get to that moment because I think that's what really infuses inspiration in so many people. And I know the Think community of the people who listen to this podcast. Let's talk about your book now. So you've taken this expertise, this all-knowing, this omniscience, student inside of you, became a teacher, and then you took it, you put the name of your company on the name of your book, and now people can buy it, absorb it. What is the reader going to get out of your book, Expense to Profit?
So what they're going to get out of it is real life examples where we have gone in and helped company find savings in all different categories. So, as you look at the different areas of where you can find savings, everybody today, no matter what business you're in, right, has a wireless cost. They have a wired phone cost or combined data wired cost. I mean, everybody's aligned with the same expenses. That's why we say that we're agnostic from a business standpoint. And in my book, it gives very specific examples of different industries and different services that we provided to them, whether it's, finding savings. One of the great ones in the book is, chef goes out and renegotiates his non-center of the plate food supply. So what non-center of the plate is, for everybody who doesn't know the food industry, is it means not your chicken, not your steaks, not your lobsters, not your fish. So it's everything else, right? Who cares where a pack of Domino sugar comes from, right? You're just trying to buy it for the best possible price. So he negotiates a new contract. We come in, we said, okay, we're not going to use your old pricing, which we typically do. We're going to use the pricing you just negotiated with your new provider. But don't sign a contract yet for that new provider. We found them another 19% savings on top of what he just negotiated. Now, this is a chef who's supposed to know things about his industry. And so these are the kinds of examples we have in the book of how we can find savings, whether it's on health insurance, whether it's on food costs, whether it's on payroll-related, other payroll-related issues. It's just a really good way to be able to, find some good solutions for business that they can implement themselves. Because for us, we don't really deal with any businesses that are not larger in size, meaning 20 million or up in revenue. Our largest client does over $2 trillion a year in revenue. So,
I love it.
So that's kind of what it is. And we find money for them too. Even
Yeah.
the biggest guys, the Fortune 100s, as you would call them, in international businesses, we found seven figures savings for them in a couple different categories.
I love it. I love it. Helping people, review their expenses and save them money so they can put it towards things that can effectively grow their business or their people. I think it's great. Ready for a quick speed round, Mark?
Sure.
All right. Favorite book and why?
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting that one. Let's come back to that.
All right. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Best piece of wisdom was really from Phil Groves, telling me to forget about everything else and just concentrate on what you know best.
Finish this sentence. One expense, the most common expense that most companies overlook is?
Health insurance.
Uh-huh. Finish this sentence. Once they realize that that's an overlooked expense, they should
find somebody who knows how to get that expense lower.
Yeah. All right. Good. Define yourself in one word.
Humble.
All right. Any book, article, TED Talk you want to share as your favorite?
Yeah. Why? Probably one of the most,
Simon, you're talking about Simon Sinek?
Simon Sinek's
Yeah.
Why.
So
know
good.
your why. Right?
Know your why. Yeah. That's great. Mark, tell everybody your ideal clients and how they can connect with you and where they can buy your book.
Yeah. So you can buy the book on Amazon. It's up there. Either you can buy it, and right now we're actually running a special right now. So I think the Kindle version is 99 cents for everybody of the show that wants to get it. Or you can buy the softback version for $7 and change, I think it is, that we lowered it to. And the way to get in touch with me is our website, expensetomprofit.com. And you can, connect with us, and, or you can certainly give us a call, and we're happy to have a conversation. For even those that we can't help, which may be lower, I'm always willing to provide some insights that might send you in the right direction, where you can get the appropriate help, or give you some ideas of, where you can find some solutions that will help you get to where you need to be.
Yeah, awesome. Mark, I appreciate you being on the show today. It was a pleasure getting to know you, learning more about you, your company, your book, Expense to Profit, which you just shared with everyone where it can be bought. And I really want to thank you for sharing your story, because I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what's that one thing that I'm really good at, where I can help other people and actually get paid to do it. And whether that is somebody who has their own business, starting their own business, or within the walls of a current business, I think it rings for everybody. So I appreciate you being on today. Think community, if Mark and his team can help you, please reach out, and have a great day, everybody. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, John. It was nice meeting you.